Dr. Allen here again, Meeting Doctor. I actually want to tell a brief story today, specifically about this handbook. So, 10 years ago, we published this handbook, the Cambridge Handbook of Meeting Science. And the purpose was to establish meeting science as something that people can do, an area of research, an area of practice that people could investigate and learn. And one of the chapters, actually the second chapter in the book, was called, let me make sure I get this right, Exploring Meeting Science, Key Questions and Answers. And the reason this chapter exists is because we were concerned that anyone who might pick this up would not necessarily know what meeting science is. And so that chapter essentially just answers those questions, answers what is meeting science, how is it different or is it the same as groups and team science, and a bunch of other important questions. And the reason, or one of the reasons why that chapter exists, beyond what I've already said, is there's just not a lot of meeting science out there, even now. And when I started looking at this back in 2006, when I started, studying meetings in general, I was still a graduate student, and I was, being trained and had a qualifying exam so that way I could qualify to dissertate. And in that process, I had a variety of faculty who were on my committee who would prepare a written examination of essay questions that I had to respond to. And one of those essay questions was, you're at a presentation, you're talking about your meeting science, and someone in the back stands up and says, well, isn't this just groups and teams research? We've been doing this for many, many years. This is nothing new. Why should we care? And something to that effect. I don't have the exact wording. I don't remember the exact wording of the question, but essentially it was basically calling into question the idea of meeting science at all, which is a challenge that I have worked both before, during, and after this handbook came out to overcome. And essentially my response at that time still is my response today. And my response essentially was that, yes, absolutely, meeting science does pull from and use and understand things in the same way or similar ways to groups and teams research. But then I wrote something that I like I said, I still talk about today, that you think back to your younger self, you think, wow, I was actually pretty smart then. What happened? I stated that essentially you can go to a meeting and you can feel very much part of a group or a team, right? And you can also go to a meeting and look around and feel like this is not a group. I am not part of a group here. I'm alone. You can feel truly alone. You can feel like you're not in a team, not in a group, that sort of thing. And, in terms of meeting science, if you don't feel like you're in a group, then the group doesn't have an impact on, or doesn't have the kind of impact that is typically studied in groups and teams research on you as a person. In fact, if we feel like we're not part of a group, we'll behave very differently than if we feel like we're in a group that cares about us, that we care about them, right? And so my point is, there are research questions and there are practical implications that are meeting science only and not groups and teams research. And then there are lots of other questions that are absolutely meeting science questions that are informed and should be studied in the context of and in the understanding of groups and teams science. So this is me saying, these are the kinds of questions that we answered in that chapter, and also that if you're interested in meetings but not necessarily interested in groups and teams, that's okay, because there are questions that still need to be answered. And if you're a groups and teams scholar and you're thinking that, well, meetings have already been done, well, there's a whole lot of questions that we still need to answer that we can use the groups and teams research to help with, but it's not the only way to go. And That's the wonderful thing about the interdisciplinary study of meetings. That's it for today. We'll do another story maybe next time.